This is Delhi. Please stand by for our next program. This is All India Radio. In our national program of talks, tonight, we now bring you a panel discussion entitled Snakebite Envenoming in India, Emerging Out of Shadows. The panelists are Dr. Priyanka Kadam, Founder-President of NGO Snakebite Healing and Education. She, Kedar Bhide, Wildlife Biologist, Photographer and Herpetologist, and Vidyasagar Ayyappan of AIR Mumbai, who initiates and moderates the discussion.
A study on trends in snake-related incidents and deaths released in 2020 pegs India at 1.2 million snake bite deaths in the last 20 years. That's an average of about 58 to 60,000 recorded, the point to stress, deaths per year. And of course, several thousands of permanent morbidities and deformities, which in fact represents about 70% of all the deaths happening worldwide. That's the gravity of the problem that we are dealing with in India, which is why perhaps the World Health Organization has called for reducing this number by half by 2030. A very aggressive target if you get to see the realities of the ground. To talk about the what, the why, the how to combat this reptilian crisis, we've got two renowned experts with us on the show today on All India Radio's national broadcast. My name is Vidyasagar Ayyappan. And with us we have Dr. Priyanka Kadam, President and founder of the Snakebite Healing and Education Society, also known as SHE SHE, an organization that has been at the forefront of alleviating the suffering of India's snakebite victims. Really end-to-end grassroots worker, last mile delivery, a lot of good work that Priyanka ji does along with her organization. Also, we have Mr. Kedar Bhide, who wears several hats at the same time. He's the founder of the Zero Bite campaign, an environmental health expert, a postgrad in applied biology from Hafkin Institute of the Subject, also member of the Snakebite Initiative and ICMR Technical Advisory Committee on Snakebite Envenomation and Management. A wildlife photographer, he wears multiple hats, so does Priyanka ji. Welcome to the show, both.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll start with you, Priyanka ji. You mentioned on your website that India is the death by snakebite capital of the world. Firstly, important to understand exactly what the issue is. We'll go to the root of the issue. Is it because there are too many venomous snake bites in the first place? Or is it really, a management issue? The timely help is not possible. Experts are not available across the length and the breadth of the country.
Thank you very much for this question. India में इतनी high number of deaths क्यों होते हैं? इसका तो multiple reasons है. Some of it, high population and rich biodiversity of snakes. Venomous snakes भी हमारे देश में 4 जो big 4 है. It is commonly found in many of the states. And, if you look at the scenario right now, 10 years ago, if people would have said snakebite is a rural problem, but today snakebite is not a rural problem because there are very few places in India which is like totally rural, Many of the places have become semi-urban. And there are so many slums which have mushroomed in metro cities and tier 2 towns and such kind of places. So snake bite happens everywhere. But why the high number of deaths? Because snake bite is actually a treatable condition. And nobody should die in today's day and time. Nobody should die of snake bite. And still if we are having such a high number of deaths, it is simply because, timely treatment people are not able to avail. Now, why is that? Because the first point of contact for any snakebite victim is a primary health center.
Correct.
And I have worked in 12 states. And this is the same story everywhere, that many of the places, PHC, the doctor is not available during the night times. And many times this incident happens, somewhere sundown or late in the night or very early in the morning. That is a high incidence time, when people, go to the hospital and you don't have medical staff there. Also, in many of the primary health centers, anti-venom is not available. And these are very, very manageable things,
Understood.
मतलब ऐसा नहीं है कि you cannot solve this problem.
So it's a solvable problem,
It is a solvable.
but a massive problem there.
Absolutely.
All the same.
Absolutely.
I'll swing over to you, Kedarji. There are structural issues, behavioral issues, and circumstantial issues to every problem. And it's very important to realize where the root cause lies. I'd like to ask you about some of the circumstantial issues. Are humans messing up too much with nature? It's a seasonal thing. We are living in a tropical climate, wet and heat, which is very conducive for snakes to come over to human habitat. Are there circumstantial issues that we are dealing with, especially because where we are in India, when we understand the root cause of the issue?
The fact what you said about that we are destroying nature is one of the fact, because we are destroying a lot of habitats. That is one point. Second point, in our lifestyle or the living style, we always create a lot of hiding places, a lot of food available for a lot of snakes, which are kind of venomous and their bite can be dangerous to us. So it's basically, I will not say it's only a destruction of a nature, but for certain species, we are also creating opportunistic environment around us. We have a lot of hiding places for them in our foundations. We have a lot of food available because a lot of rats are around us. So it's solid waste management or bad lifestyle practices. At the same time, destruction of a nature, so they don't have a lot of places to go.
Correct.
So this is a multiple impact on a snakebite scenario in India as such. At the same time, our population is very high.
Very high, yeah.
So it's more about opportunistic, accidental incidences happening all around.
The personality of India is also, we are an agrarian economy, so a lot of work in the fields and farms. So it's, it's a little both ways, right? We also go to their habitat, they also come over to our places.
That's right.
Yeah. What about you, Priyanka ji? What would you?
So like Kedar mentioned, waste management. Now I'll use more simpler words like irresponsible dumping of garbage, and more direct words rather, Yeah. Because सुनने वाले को समझना चाहिए कि ये क्या बात हो रही है. Human beings by nature we are very dirty people, we like to keep our homes clean, but we are not responsible for the garbage, which we are leaving outside our homes. इस तरह से abundant food हमारे जो बिग 4 venomous snakes हैं, तो वो क्यों जाएंगे जंगल में? कोई सांप, very few snakes which are actually responsible for deaths are found in forests. The big 4, out of that, the big 3 are occurring close to human habitations only. These are all interlinked if you if you look
so
at
we
it.
contribute a lot to the snake bites that are happening. Absolutely. Is in a way we are saying, which is a little tragic because these are things that can be controlled by us.
Yes.
So at least to that extent we can reduce the menace, so to say. Venomous snakes which cause most of the snake bites, they are the Russell's viper, the common krait, the spectacled cobra, different from the Indian king cobra. Is that right?
Yes.
And the saw-scaled viper. Now, you also mentioned about how the anti-snake venoms are either not available everywhere or available on time. And I want us to focus a little more on that. I am taking care of everything as an individual. But if I have a snake
the wrong
bite...
place at the wrong time.
Yeah, if I'm at the wrong place at the wrong time, can you tell me about the ASVs? Do we have a huge issue there? Is availability an issue? Is storage an issue? Or these big 4s and the ASVs that we have, the anti-snake venoms, are not always good for all the 4 snake bites? What is really the issue apart from distribution?
We are actually in a way lucky that we have only one anti-venom. Okay, it's a concoction of the big 4. तो आपको जो भी क्लिनिशियन है वो कंफ्यूज नहीं होगा इसको कौन सा सांप ने काटा है, मैं कौन सा एंटीवेनम यूज करूं. तो हमारा जो इंडियन मार्केट में जो एंटीवेनम है वो चारों को मद्देनजर रख करके वो बनाया गया है.
So it's a good one.
ये बात है कि अगर वो एंटीवेनम मिलता है बाजार में, वो अगर आपको टाइमली अगर वो मिल जाए तो जान बच जाएगा.
That's a good news story to have, really.
Absolutely.
Let's peel that layer a little more, Kedarji.
Let me start with saying what Priyanka was talking about big 4. In majority of our country that big 4 works, but there are still a lot of pockets like Northeast India where the snake species, particularly dynamics of species, is very different than these big 4 what we have. Similarly, eastern part of India also species are little different. Northernmost part, if you go to J&K and Himalaya, the species are different. But majority wise, if you take from say Delhi to Kanyakumari, we have these big common 4 species
80%
found around.
Maybe, 80 to 90%.
I will say 65% more.
Oh, we are dealing with 35%
which we don't know. There is no antivenom available.
So are you saying these ASVs won't work if
you
have
in those other species?
Okay.
But even in these whole 65-70% area which I am talking about also, we have a lot of geographical variation in venom compositions between same species of snakes. So if you go to south, say Russell's viper venom is little different than what Russell's viper you get in Maharashtra or what you get in Punjab and Haryana.
Oh.
So the antivenom is generally produced from the venoms extracted from the snake.
From that area.
From
so
that
it should be
particular
localized.
area. Venom extraction need to be more localized and target specific to that particular group. So with antivenom, though it's a polyvalent, works against all 4 common snakes, what is issue is not the actually a scarcity kind of thing, but as Priyanka said, distribution is a challenge. Efficacy zone wise is a challenging. Everywhere that same efficacy you will not get of the antivenom.
Yeah.
And the third is application of antivenom training and capacity building.
So are you saying that
which is also not
doctors,
available.
which I'm assuming doctors and nurses, so to say, would be applying, would be administering the doses? Are we saying that we have some sort of a gap there?
Quite a big gap, I will not say some sort of, because not all the doctors have been trained or equipped in their whole medical education. It's a very small part they study in a forensic, which is not also in clinical medicine today at the moment. But there are some doctors who take personal interest and are doing fantastic work in snakebite management. But majority of the doctors at our rural areas and in health centers are not equipped as a knowledge wise as well as the resources wise.
We have a lot of respect for our doctors, especially we've seen their role over the last 2 years, how they've been at the forefront of dealing with one of the worst pandemics that humanity has faced. Especially the point that Kedarji mentioned, that localized anti-venom. So it's not just one Russell viper is the same across all places, but localized anti-venom for that location is a bit of a gap, and administering that is a bit of a gap. Would you agree with that? Have you seen that in your experience?
I would agree. See, these are two different questions. Efficacy of antivenom is a separate topic, and upskilling of medical staff, that is a different topic. So I want to talk about upskilling of the medical staff. Right now, what is available? We don't have a region specific antivenom, so I don't want to talk about that, because ultimately what we have right now, that also works. Now, what Kedar rightly mentioned, medical college mein very rarely they are deeply touching this topic, So most of the doctors जो भी expert हो गए वो सब trial error से करके एक दूसरे से सीख करके तो expert बन गए. That should not be the case in today's time, when you have so many guidelines, you have the standard protocol. हमारे ऐसा नहीं है कि we are all depending on the WHO protocol for snakebite management. हमारा Indian standard protocol भी है, but how many people know कि ये है, and how many people know where to go and look for it? वो हमारा जो health ministry का website है उस पर available है वो.
Understood.
So I just want to tell the listeners that ये standard protocol है वो हमारे website पे भी वो जो snakebite healing and education का जो website है उस पर भी हमने उसको upload किया हुआ है.
Priyanka ji is talking about the website she-india.org. That's she-india.org, which clearly mentions, has a lot of useful resources about snakebite management, really. Not just for us, the lay person, but also, is it fair to assume that all the work that you all are doing involves not just people who might be at the receiving end of the snakebite, but also medical experts who might not get the formal training, but this on-the-ground training is available as part of your workshops that you conduct? We'll start with you, sir.
Yes, Vidyasagar. Major of our work which is happening is about capacity building at a health centers. Training doctors and other medical staff there how to manage snakebite. That is a major work which is actually objective-oriented work.
Understood.
See, education and other things with the communities is a long-term goal. But the short-term immediate goal is training our medical practitioners.
Absolutely.
And build a capacity so the snakebite can manage at a very, very ground level.
Yeah. So in 2021, we published one paper in an international journal called PLOS NTD.
Okay.
और उस जर्नल में हमने बात किया है about how to do this work with little resources, because snake bite के ऊपर कोई फंडिंग, बहुत रेयर कोई भी CSR फंडिंग करेगा या कोई डोनेशन आपको आता है, बट काम बहुत सारा करना है, इतना बड़ा देश है आपका, and so many people are dying, so many children you see, women you see, young and old people, so there's so much misery, which can completely be contained.
At least the solvable problem should be controlled.
So how to work for people like us, it is a challenge, it is
I agree.
You're swimming upstream. So उसमें वो पेपर में हमने एक डायग्राम डाला है
Okay.
जिसमें राइट फ्रॉम नेशनल लेवल टू विलेज लेवल तक कौन कौन से स्टेक होल्डर्स है जिसके साथ आप काम कर सकते
can work.
हैं. या दैट इज मेंशन्ड.
I just want to add one more point to what Priyanka was talking about resources on the ground, very small resources, it can be managed. One of the things which is, as we look at the whole COVID situation in 2 years, happened is that we have ventilators at every rural area.
Very
now.
good point, yeah.
Okay. And that was one thing missing earlier to manage snake bites at a PSC level or a CSC level.
Yeah.
Because COVID happened, lot of medical resources has come on the ground,
Absolutely.
which as the COVID goes now, can be used for
Fabulous
a
point.
snake bite management.
Correct. So if they can be moved over, you can target it to where you need
To the
it.
other diseases.
Other diseases.
Absolutely. But now the question is that how many doctors know to intubate patients? इंट्यूबेट मतलब कि वो सांस का नली कैसे घुसाना है आपके थ्रू द माउथ. सो now that is where it is happening very slowly. The way we work is we approach collectors of different districts.
Oh, wow.
जैसे last month we did 2 districts का doctors training. We trained 200 doctors in a district called Botad and in a district called Bhavnagar.
Bhavnagar,
Yeah.
Gujarat.
Yes. Now the point is like this, that the collector is the main person in the
Right.
district, and if he is willing or she is willing,
Yeah.
then
Top down. It gets trickled top down.
absolutely
Yeah.
all the doors open up for you. The district health officer is completely responsive of what you're saying, and all these upskilling workshops and all these things happen.
If an individual is listening to the show, there's a lot of this theory that gets tossed around that snakes don't bite for fun.
Yeah.
They do so only when they are provoked. I mean, who the heaven in the right mind is going to go and provoke a snake? I don't know. I mean, we live in a place where people are scared of lizards and cockroaches.
Yeah.
But maybe people are doing it without knowing that they are provoking. So do we have a standard set of protocols or things that people may not be aware of what constitutes provocation? And then perhaps how we can avoid it? Kedarji?
I will say what you said about provocation. Actually, it's not a provocation. It's a reaction to your action. Snake bites is always a reaction to some other action which happened with you, either unknowingly putting a foot on it, unknowingly, put a hand on it, or trying to catch or kill it. So it's not a provoke. You don't need to provoke. They will never come and bite you if you want to provoke also. They will try to run away.
Run away. Oh,
So
the defense will first be to move
It's
away, escape.
100% time snake bite is always defensive in nature. So it's a reaction to some other action happening.
Correct.
It's not a
Which is-
provocation.
yeah, okay.
In that way. That's what I will say. Second thing, snakes do not have hands and legs like us,
Correct,
to
yeah.
react. They have only mouth to react.
Yeah.
So if they can't run, the only way they can defend themselves is by biting.
Right.
So it's snake bite is 100% reaction and completely defensive in nature.
Yes.
Okay, good clarity on the provocation bit. I want to move to what an individual can do. Today, if I have a snake bite, all right, what are the do's and don'ts? What are the steps I should follow? I'm aware that the she-india.org, the website that you run and manage, has a lot of amazing information. And I last checked, there were some 10 or 12 languages.
12
languages. Yeah.
yeah.
So that's great. So it's localized content. But today, if you were to tell me, I have a snake bite, what are the do's and don'ts? And I'm aware that every time people may not die of it, there can also be permanent morbidities, permanent disabilities. So if you can address both those points,
Okay.
what are the things we should do, not just to be alive at the end of the story,
Okay.
but be alive in the fit way that I am before the snake bite?
Right. First of all, how to prevent snake bite, that is very important. Always wear a closed pair of shoes while walking out, especially during the monsoon, and especially if you're going in the night where there is less visibility and all that. Always wear closed pair of shoes. Always use a torch so that you are aware of what is there in front of you. Don't walk in the grass or anything where you cannot see the ground. Then use mosquito nets. If you're in a place where there is a high occurrence of venomous snakes, try to avoid sleeping on the floor. If you're sleeping on the floor, use a mosquito net. If you're using a mosquito net, 5 आदमी उसके अंदर मत घुस के सो जाओ. Mosquito net is very useful for anything, not just snake bite, but scorpion stings or insect bites. It can prevent so many things. And then keep your home and surrounding clean and clutter free. Like Kedar had mentioned, we create so many spaces in and around our houses. Even in the urban areas, we have all these pots and we have these lawns and all that. So while gardening, even I garden, have something which is, away from your main door. or your patio, or very close to where you're walking around.
Yeah.
And also control the rodent population. So 99% of the times bite will not occur.
Understood.
Okay. Now, what happens if you get bitten by a snake?
Yes.
So the do's is that you stay calm, and if you are the caregiver, then you also stay calm and reassure the victim that this is a treatable condition, and most probably it is not a venomous snake bite, because in India we have more than 300 species of snakes. Out of that, only around 15 are medically significant, जिसे fatal bites have got.
Some of them, even if they are venomous, they don't
inject
always release the
venom always,
Yeah.
many of the times. But
ये
as Priyanka was saying, I will again, she can continue the
Yeah.
do's and don'ts, but just on that chances of getting venomated after the snake bite is quite low. That's why when you say
Yeah.
that there are millions of bites, but the deaths are around 50 to 60,000
recorded by the way.
recorded one,
Yeah.
and the morbidity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carry on.
So I was saying कि 15-16 जो है where bites, deaths have got recorded. Out of that also, only 4 snakes record the highest number of deaths. That
Yeah.
means they are
four, yeah.
most commonly found in many of the states.
Right.
Okay, and close to human habitation. तो interaction का chance ज़्यादा रहता है. So when we are reassuring, you can say that you will get well.
Yeah.
We will quickly go to the hospital, immobilize the patient.
What does that mean?
इमोबिलाइज मतलब जरा भी हिलना डुलना नहीं.
Okay, yeah.
एकदम एक जगह पे बैठ जाओ.
बैठ जाओ, not lie down.
नो. और आपका हाथ पैर जहां पर भी काटा है उसको अपना हार्ट लेवल से नीचे रखो.
Okay.
Okay. It depends where the bite is occurred, but mostly it is below the heart level. And then you have to remove all the tight things, like rings are there, chain is there, anklet is there, watch, belt, whatever it is there. Suppose if it is in your finger and you're wearing a ring or you're wearing a kada, if there is progressive swelling, then there will be another difficulty,
Yeah.
So we are dealing with a medical emergency. So we have to concentrate on what we should do so that, we only have that thing on hand and we don't create some other extra problem for ourselves. And then in the meantime, call the ambulance.
Call the ambulance. Yeah.
So there are numbers 104 hai, 108 hai, or whatever is your local ambulance number. Cardiac ambulances will always have ventilatory support, but general ambulance many times don't have it. But that should not be the criteria to refuse an ambulance. कि आपके पास ये नहीं है तो हम नहीं जाएंगे.
Got it.
Because every minute counts.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you are able to receive treatment within the golden hour from the bite, मतलब
Golden hour means 1 hour?
1 घंटा के अंदर में आपको ट्रीटमेंट मिलना शुरू हो जाएगा.
Okay.
तो आप रिकवरी तो होना ही है.
Perfect.
आप मर नहीं सकते. आप मरोगे तभी जब आप कोई भी डिले करके और इतना मतलब कुछ भी उल्टा पलटा आपका काट दोगे उधर. द बिटन एरिया पीपल डू रॉन्ग फर्स्ट एड. एम्बुलेंस ऐसा बहुत सारा हमारे देश में ऐसा जगह है वेयर द एम्बुलेंस कैन नॉट कम. एवरी विलेज विल हैव समवन और द अदर हु हैज अ मोटरसाइकिल. मोटरसाइकिल पर बिठा करके लेके जाओ. बट व्हेन यू आर ट्रांसपोर्टिंग अ स्नेक बाइट विक्टिम इन अ मोटरसाइकिल, देन ऑलवेज हैव वन पर्सन बिहाइंड. द स्नेक बाइट विक्टिम शुड बी इन द मिडल, the driver, snake bite victim, and then after that another caregiver who will support the head of the victim and rush to the hospital. The idea is that somehow you have to reach the hospital immediately. And in case you have reached the ambulance and you are lying in the ambulance, don't lie flat on your back.
On your back.
I have seen so many deaths, especially of children, where they are lying on their back, and some of the first signs and symptom of a venomous snake bite is you feel nausea. तो आपको उल्टी आता है, and you choke on your own vomit or your own saliva when you're sleeping on your back. Even if you're lying the victim, then lay them on the side. On the left side is better. Left side में अगर आप उनको करवट करके सुला देंगे, then अगर उनके मुंह में उल्टी आया भी तो वो मुंह से निकल जाएगा. They will not choke. Yeah. So that is a very, very important point to note. And once you reach the hospital, inform the doctor every little bit.
Detail of what has happened.
If you have any comorbidity, allergy towards any drug, अब don'ts क्या करना है आपको? सबसे पहले तो पैनिक नहीं करना है. क्यों नहीं करना है पैनिक? बिकॉज आप जब पैनिक करते हो तो आपका ब्लड प्रेशर हाई होता है एंड इफ योर ब्लड प्रेशर इज हाई देन योर ब्लड विल स्टार्ट सर्कुलेटिंग वेरी फास्ट in the body, and similarly the venom which is circulating along with the blood, that will also quickly go and get attached to the vital organs.
Yes.
So the best way is to
Remain calm, not
remain
panic.
calm. Okay. The second thing you don't have to do is don't tie a tourniquet. You know, वो
Yeah.
ये हम सब लोग को स्कूल में पढ़ाया गया है.
Correct.
स्नेक बाइट, जोर से एक बांध दो रस्सी, ब्लड फ्लो बिल्कुल नहीं होना चाहिए, ऐसा बांध दो.
Worst thing to do.
That is the worst thing to do. So don't tie a tourniquet. Don't do faith healing. Anti-venom जरूरी
1
है.
hour is the golden hour,
1
you said.
hour is a golden hour. और बॉलीवुड में हमने देखा है कि सांप काट लिया हीरोइन को तो हीरो ने वहां पर उसको चूस करके उसका निकाल दिया और हीरोइन ठीक हो गई. ये सब सिर्फ मनगढ़ंत कहानियों में ही होता है.
They spit it out as well, almost as if to say that, oh, the venom is
the
gone.
venom is out. But ऐसा नहीं होता है. In fact, if you tinker with the bite area, then you are actually creating an environment for the wound to fester. So don't even clean it.
Okay.
There are a lot of people who clean the wound,
With Dettol.
wash, ये वो करके like that, you know. तो रेबीज में वो कहते हैं कि हाँ भाई वो 15 मिनट तक आप उसको वुंड को धोते रहो रेबीज में, बट नॉट स्नेक बाइट.
Snake bites. Okay.
स्नेक बाइट में आप सीधा विक्टिम को उठाओ गोद में और उसको लेकर के हॉस्पिटल तुरंत लेकर के जाओ.
Immobilize and take the person to the hospital.
Yes.
Yeah.
That if you are out there and you get bitten,
Yeah.
the first job is find a caregiver, find a help.
Yeah.
Not all snakes are venomous.
Yes.
You know, so not all snake bites are venomous bites. At the same time, many times the venomous snake bites, but do not inject venom. Those are called dry bites, and there are majority of chances of dry bites also.
I want to say also that ये जरूरी नहीं है that 1 hour is gone, so now you're going to die. Not at all. You have to go as soon as possible.
Priyanka ji,
Yeah.
Kedar ji, really, really proud of the work that you've been doing. Really champion of the cause. Thanks for being part of this awareness initiative. I hope that this show of ours contributes even in a small way towards the whole awareness setting movement, and we can just hope that it becomes viral. All of us are first aware, and then it is just the natural emotions that take over. We know exactly what to do, and the right thing will happen. Thank you so much for this.
I'm sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Vidya.
In our national program of talks tonight, you heard a panel discussion entitled Snakebite Envenoming in India, Emerging Out of Shadows. The panelists were Dr. Priyanka Kadam, founder president of NGO Snakebite Healing and Education, she, Kedar Bhide, wildlife biologist, photographer and herpetologist, and Vidyasagar Ayyappan of AIR Mumbai, who initiated and moderated the discussion. The concept was by Naveen K. Gupta of All India Radio Delhi, and this program was produced and presented by Umesh Mehta of All India Radio Mumbai. A presentation of All India Radio Mumbai. It came to you from the Delhi station of All India Radio.